Alright, so I figured that we are going to do or it's probably a good idea to do like a quick review just to see what everyone or most people are doing with the new mechanic on defense, just to see like what the surprise egg has in store for us, the Kindle egg. What Athos' surprise is holding out for us. Not a lot of people, like I was going through some of these before, and not that many people actually either summoned or chose to put the extra mechanic, the surprise mechanic, on their defenses. So I don't know if it's like low sale. Nah, I just want to get rid of those low sales allegation. I think the game is doing fairly well in that regards. I think people summon for units that they want to summon for, and eventually they just get them. I just don't think a lot of people probably got lucky enough to get Athos through the summon, regular summons, and everyone doesn't have faith out. So yeah, not a large majority of the player pool is going to have access to being able to spark that specific unit, and probably some of them went with Ira or someone else. So that's probably more likely what happened there. But I figured this is probably this is the first one from the list that I saw. Well, I did skip a couple of them. I do know one that I definitely did skip because I didn't want to show it off too much. For Mortis, I still think he's like top tier save, and this is just like a base Athos here. I kind of been playing with his C skill and his special, Frost Moon. I think he uses Frost Moon particularly well because of how high his res stat is, but I do think there are other units that would use it better than him. Unfortunately, I only got the one copy from the summonings that I did, so I can't really test it out, but it will be in the Hall of Forms eventually, so we'll get that on other units as we move along. But for now, I think he uses it fairly well, but I do think that he just functions better with Glacies and Lagoo's friend. His B skill is like carbon copy of a lot of B skills that are currently in the game. Just checking for the +1 movement here. I'm kind of confused about the Sigurd ring. I think it might just be for Kanto. But yeah, his B skill, Athos, is like, it's really replaceable because you're getting those two debuffs, Discord and I think Panic, was it? I don't remember what the other one was, but there are a ton of other ways to get that specific debuff from other sources on your defense when you're building it. So it's really, really not needed on him. He really should have came with Lagoo's friend, I feel. That would have been the proper B skill for him, or maybe even special Spiral 4, because I also think that works really well if you want to run like a Glacies build. So either of those two things would have really benefited him. But what I'm going to do is just test this out. I mean, it's kind of obvious what's going to happen with just what I'm about to do, but what I really want to see is what the builder here of this defense has in store for us with this surprise mechanic. Even though it's not really that much of a surprise, because once it pops out, it's not really going to be able to do anything. But this is just one of the ways that I've been seeing people trying to use the mechanic or place or do something with it. I have been seeing that a lot of people just have not been using it well, mainly in relation to its placement, in terms of where you're going to put the circle. For this, I probably would have placed it like all the way at the back there beside Ather. I think that would have been the better spot to put that the summoning circle at. Athos has the Lin ring, and I'm kind of just double checking my ranges on that just to be careful. But we will be able to get to turn 3 here, and we are looking at Neathhogger, which is probably why he didn't put it back there. But Neathhogger by herself here popping out, she's pretty easy to beat because she's not getting a ton of her either her weapon effect or her A skill effect. I forget which one it is, but you can obviously see that she doesn't have distant counter active, which is unfortunate because it does have a requirement to be around beast units, so maybe not the best unit to pop out in that circle, and that probably goes for most of the armored units that we have, the new armored units, because they have some type of space condition that will require for the activation of their weapons within 3 spaces, 2 spaces, something of that nature for the activation of their weapons. And not even just, there's also sometimes a number of characters that need to be nearby, so this probably, I wouldn't recommend putting Neathauger in this situation because he's just going to get bopped, as you can see here. The counter to that is that once I do this, his defense will activate, because once you take out the, it still counts as you, it's going to count as like a hit and run. So it's essentially activating your opponent's defense on turn 3. So if you see someone with a setup like this, you can really just wait and then have their defense rush down to you, and then you get to, you know, more than likely someone is going to be out of place, so you'll be able to pick and choose who you will attack into on the following turns. But the unit in this situation is Sigurd, and Sigurd is going to do something weird, more than likely, especially when he has Ather in support. So either Sigurd or Athos is going to do some type of positional mechanic, I'm assuming, so might not be the greatest recommendation to try to hit and run against the Sigurd team, because Sigurd has pretty much map-wide coverage, so you're probably not going to get away from him, which is why I'm choosing to just let him run into Sita. He will die because Sita is amazing. She's going to just keep aging well, at least into the Sigurd matchup. She should be able to do that consistently for the foreseeable future. But yeah, even with no support here, even with the Embla's feud, she's doing pretty decent. The downside is that
lend me your strength.
was that she's not healing as much as she should be healing because of all of the fatal smoke and stuff that's going on here. But yeah, Athos moving up, and essentially the whole defensive structure has really just fallen apart. Not a lot of threat left aside from Athos, who is a pretty large threat in himself. He's really, really powerful. Yeah, I'd recommend probably swapping out that C skill for cancer control if you have it. That's what I would recommend. And this Marni is Marniing. She is this is just your typical Marni encounter here.
Understood.
She's being a wall here, especially with the Hathrin support. That's actually making this a lot more difficult to get through. She doesn't even have this encounter.
Pay them a visit.
But my only red unit in Neathauger doesn't actually do much here, which is kind of crazy. And then
no doubt.
Hater here, Baby Golveg Evil, isn't really the best unit for matching up into Marni. I was like really contemplating like what build I would give to this unit, to Hater, at this point to make her a little bit more
what can I do?
meta relevant. Current for the current meta. Her base kit just isn't cutting it currently. She's just not doing enough damage. She really needs a cultist strike. Even though she does have true damage in her weapon, she needs a bit more. And even the C skill, Panic Smoke, can go for something else. I don't know what you would really put there. Probably some type of Oath skill, but it's not needed either. Yeah, this is just your typical Mount Marni encounter here. Feeling a lot like Arena right now, but I don't know. Okay, Marni. Yeah, but I mean, this just isn't the position that I would have placed this summoning circle in. I don't really, you haven't really gained very much from placing it there. The only upside is if the opponent is unable to take out Neathauger in that particular situation, then you automatically win, because there's nothing that they can do. Because for one, they would have already failed to get to turn 3. They would have already failed in initiating on your defense for whatever reason. There's no reason to wait until turn 3 to initiate unless you're already failing to initiate on the defense. And then 2, once that unit pops up that's Neathauger and they're just unable to take out Neathauger as well, that's automatically GG's. And also, something that I recently found out was that if you have the fence and the defense, if you're in range of the defense, right, just because you have the 2 turns with the fence active or of safety with the fence, that does not mean that Marni's still not dying here. That's crazy. Yeah, just because you have those 2 turns safe from the opponent doesn't mean that they, well, you're going to be safe for 2 turns, but on the 3rd turn, the defense will move automatically. Because you've already, only if you're within range though. So if you have the fence and you're within range of the opponent's defense, even under the fence, like let's say Sigurd with his Celica ring, and let's say I had the fence, I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this. I probably should have just did a demonstration, but I don't really use the fence, so it wouldn't occur to me to bring it to talk about this topic. But for those first 2 turns, you're going to be safe, but because you're still within range of Sigurd, even if you move out of Sigurd's range, the defense will still activate and try to chase you down. The chase mechanic will still go. So just putting that out there in case you didn't know, because I certainly did not know, and I'd probably boil that down to just the safety fence being dumb yet again. That really just didn't need to exist, but I mean, it's in the game. What can you do? But getting an extra safety, an extra ladder doesn't even do anything to remedy that situation. I guess you have enough ladders to cover every single day that you play if you play a double every day, but I mean, for what it's worth, I'm rarely ever going through all 7 ladders these days. I guess it's probably for like newer players to the game, because that's typically one major complaint. New players, it's a really complicated game mode to get into, so I can see them benefiting from having 8 ladders, because when I started the game, when I started the game, I only had 1. And there were people before me who had no ladders to even begin with. So, that just goes to show you how difficult the game has become. I think I'm just going to probably surrender here because Marni is just not dying. Not that I, couldn't figure it out eventually, but this just does not feel worth it to continue at this point. Yeah, this is just your typical Marni experience when attacking into her without Fatal Smoke. Yeah, I think we've seen enough at this point. And this is also another thing that's kind of like,
I'll pay them a visit. Sprouting
Baby
strike.
Evil Golvig, her Golden Serpent rally effect that gives you the triangle attack, the dual strike, it's kind of really hard to play into it with a melee unit, because typically the melee units that we have in the game these days, they have to move to get the full effect of either their weapon or their A skill in Clash. Yeah, let's back out here. Hold on, give me a sec. Yeah, so I was saying that typically they have to move, we're done with that, to get the full effect of the Clash from their weapon. So the dual strike from Baby Evil Golvig just doesn't really partner well with most melee units in the game. I think what'll happen when she gets very fine and remixed eventually, they'll probably spread that to, instead of just the unit that you're rallying, I think it'll go to like the unit beside them as well, so within 2 spaces. This is an interesting placement as well. Again, away from your saves. Well, I guess Duma's here, but that's really near save. So I guess it depends on who that unit is, but really you don't want to you want to cover your unit with far save, because Lyn is a thing and Lyn pretty much blows everything up. So unless that's Neathauger, there's really no reason to have that hidden there. But yeah, Evil Baby Golvig just doesn't partner well with most melee units, and I really don't like that. I don't think they considered like future-proofing her when they released her. Her build that she currently has, base kit, does not work well into the future. Let's try this one. Let's see who pops out from here. So yeah, she works better. Evil Baby Golvig works better with ranged units when you're doing the dual strike thing. which makes her really good when paired with Lynn, but I don't really want to... I'm not using her with Lynn. For this team in specific, I'd probably want to use her with Sita, but as you've been seeing so far, it's hard to get into a spot where you have to like plan ahead, where I rally and then be able to move, because you have to attack beside her, adjacent to the unit that rallied you. And it's difficult to do both of those things and then attack into your opponent and get the benefits of the dual strike. So definitely I think her refine will expand the range of the units that are getting hit by that positive status effect.
Count on me.
Just a side note, that has nothing to do with the summoning circle.
I can do this.
But just about her relevance in the current meta. Really good with Lynn, but I don't think she's going to be like usable on many other teams unless you have her highly invested and highly merged. Yeah, but back to the circle thing. This is also... I was actually trying to show rather the matchup between Athos and Nithauger. It heavily swings in Nithauger's favor with base hit Athos. Unfortunately, their tree man, who I forgot was here, he shouldn't be here. Yeah, you should not be here. Well, at least personally, I thought he would have been the right pick for an Anima mythic. I don't know why they had to put him in Dark Season, but he shouldn't be in this specific defense. You're out of season, sir. You shouldn't be here. Micaiah popping up there is interesting because she's actually completely exposed. There's no far save, there's no near save, she's just completely exposed. But I guess it does give you options to get your units out from the back, Athos and Hathrun New Year's included, but easily snipeable by most brave bows. So again, not the greatest positioning here as well, not the greatest positioning. This is completely away from all of the far saves that are on the team, so really you're not going to really gain anything there from that surprise unit popping out on the third turn. And here as well, I mean, again, away from all coverage. This just isn't great. You don't want this at all. The only situation where you'd want this in, I guess, since this Nithauger here has Celica Ring, the enemy Nithauger has Celica Ring, she can warp down here, and that actually gives some coverage to the unit that'll pop out there from the special slot. So, I mean, if that's some type of bulky melee unit, then maybe it makes sense. Let's see what actually happens here. And then also, I guess... I keep forgetting her name. Bridget's sister. She can, pop down there eventually with what her whatever thing does. Weapon skill, I don't know. One of her things allows her to warp all over the map. So I guess there's some benefit there. It's just Felix. Not great. Especially if he's in a spot where he's not getting any of the benefits from his clash. Having Felix pop out here isn't... I guess maybe, again, maybe he doesn't know that the unit doesn't move when, they pop out. But then testing, you have to actually test it to see what'll happen once that unit goes there. It turns gray after the... Okay, that's good to know. Well, I guess turn 3 you already would have known or not.
What can I do?
But yeah, you have to test it just to see how it will perform. You can't just put it there and expect it to do something for the benefit of your defense. I'm gonna, bait out Nithauger here just because I don't want anything weird to happen with Hathrun. Or not even Hathrun. Yeah, with Hathrun specifically. But that's not great. What happened there was the healer rallied with Magic Shield Plus on Hathrun, on Nithauger. And you don't want that. Reason being is that Magic Shield Plus would have already given her the ability to act again. That's some big numbers. How much is this? She can actually take out Nithauger if she can quad, but I don't know about 2 hits. That's a big number. 24. That's respectable for a healer. That's pretty nice. But yeah, you don't want her to magic shield plus and then waste the divine nectar, especially since she has dazzling staff. You don't want her wasting you would have wanted someone else to use up the effect from the divine nectar there. That's just bad positioning. I'd probably swap that around, figure out a different configuration of the defensive units there, just to get the full effect of Ather's support.
What can I do?
Failing to take out this thing. That's fine. I don't really need to. But there's some... Well, she canceled back as well. So that would have also left...
I'll pay them a visit.
Felix exposed. Yeah, just not... This isn't great either. This also is just not great. But I like there's an idea there that I liked. So let's say this was some type of... What popped out was a near save. You could have Neithauger warp in and then provide far save coverage. That would have been actually beneficial to you, instead of just Felix being there and dying. But then also we would have been able to attack that frontline unit, so it'd have to be someone really beefy with near save. Maybe Neithauger. That's the only unit that comes to mind. This is a really nice Erica, although I don't really know that Potent really benefits her in any way. She really would probably want more true damage. That's really one of the things that she kind of lacks. Just even though she has the armor effectiveness, she just doesn't hit hard enough sometimes. But anyways, trying to find... Ooh, this is really, really nice. +8. He went in on this Ike. This Neitha... Barricade. I don't actually think I can beat this, because I can't warp in. That's for one. And then two, even if I could warp in, I don't think I have any units that could take out any of these frontliners. Ike is a very good frontliner. This build on Freyr makes him decent, at least enough to survive. Reopening, that's not bad. That's actually really good. And Ather, we're not getting through Ather's either. And then Trap Gamble. This is actually really, really good defense. A lot of thought apparently went into this. I wonder who comes out of your surprise circle. This is what I was saying, cancel control on him. I think that's that's probably his best C skill. Thinking about Glacies and even Frost Moon, I don't think the ploy skill, Pulse Up Ploy, is that great on him specifically, because especially for the season that he's in, Neithauger is going to be, one of the tanks that he's going to come across, and you really don't want to be proccing your special against her. So having the counter control is overall just better support alongside everything else that he does. Yeah, I'll give this a try with Sita just to see what can potentially happen, although I'm pretty sure this Ike will outspeed Sita, so there's no shot winning there. Full null follow-up from the A skill as well. And yeah, this is and then the low from the Sita does not win this. And then worst case scenario, Nerthus comes down and attacks, and Sita will lose that matchup also, because I'm pretty sure Nerthus should win the speed check. At least that build with investment should win the speed check against Sita. She lived the first hit, but I think Nerthus will retaliate with her damage reflection, and that's not great. And also this Ike will get the brave hits, because both of him and Nerthus have 68. So they're going to get the brave hits because they're going to be there within Marissa's drive range, and yeah, you're just not going to be living that. This is really, really good, is ultimately what I'm trying to say here. Athos is locked, which is interesting. That was one of the things that I was trying to figure out, if I should lock him or not. Because you do have the choice here of locking Freyr, since you know, his support is really great once the defense is static, but once it's moving, I guess you want it to follow you around, but you don't really need it because you're more than like, once this moves, you probably would have already killed something, in my opinion. So just for like the extra score, it probably would have worked out better. But then also, Athos is baitable, so difficulty there probably would have been, it probably is better to just lock him up so that he doesn't suicide into something. So I can get the idea there.
I'll get us there.
Let's just see who the surprise mechanic is, and then, you know, see if we could actually do something, because this is at least covered by far save, but, you know, if we can get up there and hit from a melee range, then maybe we can be cooking, because there is a defense style right there, so that's to be considered. But I don't really see a lot of ways to get through this unless you're able to take out Four Mortis, which I'm gonna guarantee you that you're not beating this Four Mortis, especially with the support from Athos, Ather, and
coming right up.
Nerthus as well. You're not getting through this Four Mortis.
What can I do?
Nerthus' support allows Four Mortis to punch back through one of his... Well, I don't really think Pavis counts, so maybe it doesn't work with him. But Nerthus allows you to pierce damage reduction when the special procs, but I don't think that counts for Pavis and Aegis and stuff, so... let's just see who pops out here. Alright, yeah, this is GG's. Let's just give up right here. Yeah. This is worst case. This is a worst case scenario here. I was thinking maybe a far save would pop out, a near save rather would pop out, and just make everything, you know, tankier. But Malice is even worse than a near save popping out, especially when she has the Sigurd ring and Miracle. Yeah, you're not getting through this at all. I don't think I have any teams that could potentially survive that. So that's an easy rank 1 there. But yeah, that's probably the best one that I've seen so far in terms of just builds. You can tell that a lot of thought I can tell that a lot of thought went into that, because I know how difficult it is to build around that mechanic, the summoning circle. So I know that a lot of thought went into that. And then the unit selections are actually really, really good. I wouldn't change anyone there. They're Ike for Tamara, depending on what you... I really like this Ira. I would love to, if I had like endless orbs, I would plus 10 her, no doubt. But that is not my current situation. And replace OG Ira. I definitely do that. But yeah, I definitely put her on Choose Your Hero Rises. I definitely voted for her. And Tamara as well. And I did put one more vote towards someone else. I can't even remember who it was, but someone good. I'm only voting for like units that you'd want in the regular pool. Doesn't look like anyone else really built around it. And then from here, we're out of the vaults in terms of, you know, just lifts. No one here really has the circle. It doesn't look like they pulled. So I guess it's not that you're probably not going to run into that many people with the extra slot mechanic from what I'm seeing here. And then the ones that do have it don't seem to be utilizing it very well. So, you know, definitely take advantage of that. I think it'll take a while for everyone to figure out how to work around and build a defense around the mechanic, at least. I think that's from what I'm looking at, that's you know, just what I'm seeing. It was really hard to just even come up with this configuration, but you really want to make sure that the unit is covered, since the unit doesn't move on the turn that they pop up. So you really want to make sure that they're covered by at least far save, I'd recommend. And then also, I just want to show you this real quick. Having him in the... It does affect your score. So if you put Athos in the surprise slot, you're not going to score, especially when he's a bonus unit, you're not going to score, you're not going to get the benefit of having him the defense score. So it's better to actually have him on the team. As bad as that sounds, because he might not fit the defense that you're trying to build, but if you don't want to lose like a ton of lift, I'd recommend just having him there. Emblem next week, don't know what I'm going to do with that just yet, but I don't know, I feel like I should probably do like just a tutorial. Is it a tutorial? I mean, everyone who watches this channel, I want to say, knows how to build a defense. So it probably wouldn't really benefit you, but I don't know. It's something that I have in mind. I guess if you want to see that, I might do it, or I might just do it just because it took forever just to figure out how to get something like that to work, because the terrains also impact how you build the defense. He's not the easiest to build around in the slightest, and I imagine that when the dark version comes out as well, it's going to also be challenging, so it'll probably be, you know, beneficial just to have a record out there.
As you say.
Me talking my way into making another video. Also, I just wanted to show real quick the difference between Glacies and Frost Moon into a unit that has damage reduction. Of course, Frost Moon pierces damage reduction and Glacies does not, but he's getting some support here from Neathhogger, damage reduction halving, DR halving, so there's that at least. He hits pretty hard, as you can see. Sita is not like a chump, so definitely a ton of damage coming out of that hit there. Unfortunately, she doesn't have distant counter, and probably just want to point it out that she would not have been able to KO him if she had distant counter. He survives against my +10 highly invested Sita. He survives pretty easily. I want to say he's surprised. Is it a surprise? He's very, very bulky. You know, just to point that out there. He's very, very bulky, which makes Lagoo's friend just makes even more sense on him for that extra bulk. And this is with Frost Moon. Just no preamble, no surprise. Sita's about to die here because anything that pierces damage reduction that isn't Cav or an armored usually is enough to take her out. But Athos just hit so hard, man. Like, he was hitting for like 200 at one point before I, you know, kind of put the team together. He was hitting her for like 200 damage, which is crazy. But here we go with the Frost Moon. And yeah, there we go with Sita. She goes bye-bye there. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to show off. Yeah, overall, just not a lot of really good uses of the summoning circle. A lot of units, a lot of people will leave the unit exposed, which I do not recommend, because once the unit gets sniped, your defense will move and it might not benefit you in terms of their positioning, making it easier for your team to get sniped. Although I am seeing a lot of Sigurds, so that also, if you have Sigurd, then maybe you don't have to worry about that as much, I want to say. But GG's, see you in the next one.